So instead of talking about my room now, I'm going to talk about my tech update. I obviously have built a system that's very different than I had just as I was moving in. I built it around the idea of having a really good DAC and a really good amp going into my speakers. But then I've had lots of problems, and every time I hit a barrier, someone says, "Oh, you need a preamp. You need a preamp. You need a preamp to sort your bass. You need a preamp to pull all your kit together." The sound from a preamp, if you choose the right one, will make your sound more natural. It will make it more rounded. It won't be as digital because it's coming out of a DAC. All these kind of things. So I did loads of research, and then I said, wait a second, I've spent too much money. I'm going to spend a month or two, well, about a month, selling loads of kit. So I sold 3 or 4 bits of kit, just basic stuff on eBay. And then I went and bought myself a Musical Paradise MP701 Mark III preamp. I got this for a whole bunch of different reasons. One, obviously, just like I've been saying, or 2 or 3 reasons. I needed a preamp to pull all my stuff together. I started having issues about wiring and how to hook my sub up, how to make all my kit go XLR, because I like using XLR rather than a mixture of different cables. Also how to introduce like a warm sound to my system. Because I'm a techie guy, I made a lot of my decisions with my amp. I've got a Dalziel clone, so it's a D9 Pro Master Edition. It sounds amazing. It's lovely. I've probably played it for 60 to 70 hours. I was trying to work that out the other day. Probably on about 60 or 70 hours. It sounds amazing, really detailed, lovely. But because I was feeding it just with my DAC, my top and DAC, it sounded very digital and very precise, very kind of aggressive almost, because the topping was feeding it. And it's hard to hear what the amp can actually do, because obviously the amp is not going to produce something that's not getting given. So that's why I decided to go tube amp rather than solid state amp as well, because I want it to be a bit more rounder and warmer and things like that. So yeah, my experience so far, I've had a few listening sessions. Obviously it's brand new, so I'm not going to get like the full experience, the full kind of, oh my goodness, it does this, this and this straight away. But what it does, it definitely makes it sound a lot more natural. In my system, with my speakers, it's gone from being very detailed to, I would say, it's played around with the soundstage a lot. The soundstage, the vocal before was very predominant and the musical instruments weren't, even though they were all there. Where now it feels like the musical instruments have been brought forward a lot closer to being not the same as the vocal, but they've been brought forward. And then all the different parts sound a lot more natural. So vocal sounds a lot more natural, not so digital or not played through a computer. And then a lot of the musical instruments sound a lot more like, oh yeah, that does sound a lot more like a set of drums in like a floor tom or a snare, or that sounds a lot more metallic rather than a kind of weird digital version of what it should be. So I definitely think the introduction of a tube preamp, that might not be this specific model, but the introduction of a tube preamp has made a huge difference. I had a couple of issues when I was putting it all together. Obviously it comes, but it doesn't come with a manual. So they assume, oh yeah, this guy's doing da-da-da. And I put one of the main, this makes me sound like a stupid person, but I just want to admit it. I put it's glowing at the moment because my amp's still on actually, because I've just been having a listening session. So I knew what I was going to talk about. I put the 4 tubes in, they're all labelled, they all go exactly where they're meant to go. But the rectifier tube that's at the front, which is the tube that goes with the power, it has grooves in the tube. The standard tube anyway has grooves, and then the board has a bunch of grooves, and you're meant to line those grooves up, and so it slots in. However, I didn't realise that. So I put it in, knowing how it goes in, but I didn't know that to line up. So when I turned on my my preamp, the preamp worked, but it made a really strange buzzing noise. So obviously did a bit of research, thought about it, took the whole thing apart, and then when I went to put it back together again the second time, thinking maybe it's not clean or maybe it's got, then I realised the grooves are all meant to line up. So this is me and my first experience of tubes. So that'll be my story that goes down forever. That was stupid enough. I was a bit of a tube because I didn't know how to put tubes in. But yeah, sounds great. A few people have commented saying that sometimes the level of the preamp needs to be adjusted based on what amp you have, because it basically is too loud straight away. It doesn't let you play low enough because of the level. But for mine, it seems pretty spot on. I've been putting it kind of on this. I've been going to about a third, somewhere between a third and a half. And it's really nice. It's what I would recommend. There's 3 inputs. So you just got to work out. It doesn't tell you anywhere which one's which inputs. So just at the start, you need to work it out, but that was fine. Yeah, but overall, it's great. 2 things about it that are, I wouldn't say negative. First, I would say what I'm trying to work out is my bass subwoofers. So I use a single subwoofer, right? And my subwoofer has a summing channel. So normally what you do is if you're using a home theatre amp or if you're using an integrated amp, it would have a sub out, which is a summed left and right mono signal. Or no, yeah, it's a summed signal, which you then sound down one cable and then you plug it into one connector. But this preamp only has stereo left, stereo right. It has XLR left, XLR right, and then it has phono RCA on the left, 2 of them, and then phono RCA on the right, 2 of them, which when I looked at it was like, oh, this is great. It gives me loads of options, connectivity things. But actually what it does is it only gives you one side of the stereo image. So when you plug it in with your long RCA cable, sub cable that's worked in all your other setups, you plug it in and you plug it into the summed channel, it doesn't quite sound right. It only plays half the signal. And what happens, which I've found out, is you're listening, the vocal's in the middle and the sub comes on and the vocal disappears to the far side because the stereo image collapses, because you're only getting half of the bass image, or it's only getting half of the signal. So what you need to do is you need to either find a way to join the signal as it comes out the back of your amp and then run one cable, or run 2 cables if you've got an amp that accepts a left and a right, because I realise some people's don't. They just have an input. Luckily, mine has a whole bunch of different inputs. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run 2 cables, because my thought is in the future I think I'm going to get another sub, and if I'm going to get another sub, that means the cable will already be there, and that means the image would be, it's 2-sided but it's still mono, but it's given both sides. So that's what I'm going to do. The other thing is I've watched 3 or 4 really, really good tech videos, and this isn't a negative about it, but listening to the 3 or 4 tech videos of guys, especially in Germany, and there's been a couple of Eastern European guys on YouTube talking about this preamp. They've talked about how you can upgrade it, and that's probably the biggest reason I bought this preamp over everything, over connectivity, being warm, tube amps, everything like that, is you can change all the tubes for different types of tubes. You can also, in the Mark III, I was watching the videos on capacitors. So in the Mark II, it had front capacitors and back capacitors, but no one really changed now I'll get this the wrong way around, the front capacitors. They only changed the back ones to affect the sound. So the guy who designed it changed it so the front capacitor now is a single capacitor, but the back ones are still really easy to swap. So you can either do it yourself and just find out the combination you like, or you can buy packs. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy an upgrade pack, because I think the benefits are exactly what I'm looking for. I think what we've got is really good for the money, but it's not blow your socks off. It's not like, oh my goodness, this preamp has solved all my problems sound-wise. It's not give me the perfect stereo image and all the perfect details, and the vocal doesn't sound perfect. It's very good. It's really good. And that's what everyone who reviews them says. But you can tell it's got a few more gears. So what I'm going to do is probably in the next few months, I'm going to buy an upgrade pack to get new rectifier tube, 3 new musical tubes, and 2 capacitors. And I'm going to take the jump and see how much of a jump it goes, because then I'll know how much these tubes and these capacitors affect it. And it also then means in the future, if I wanted to go crazy and spend crazy money, instead of buying maybe a £200 pack, you can go wild. I've seen people talking about them spending more than the price of the preamp, so more than £500 or £600 on capacitors to make it sound the way they want. But it's to compete against preamps that are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So then it's worth it. So that's going to be my last thing. I think at the moment it sounds great, but I can tell that the limiting factor is probably the tubes and the preamp, the tubes and the capacitors that are in it. And so to get squeeze that last capacity out of it that people are saying this preamp has, I'm going to do the upgrade. So that means in the future I'll do more videos. I'm going to do a lot more tech videos. I'm going to keep talking about what I've found, because I find it hard that people seem to say, oh, I bought a piece of kit, but then they don't talk about what they actually did with the kit, or what happened or anything like that. And I'm a guy who likes long form videos and listening to what people have said, because I always learn something from it. So yeah, basically, how much was it? I'm trying to think of the process. I think you can get them, if you're really smart with vouchers in the UK, you can get them for about £500. I think probably in America and some other places it's maybe between $600 and $700. So it's about £500, yeah. My only thing was mine got stuck in Holland in customs for about a week, and I thought, oh no, it's disappeared or I'm gonna have problems, and then it all of a sudden reappeared, and it'd flown to the UK and it was here, and it was only like maybe 3 days late for delivery, which when it's taken 3 weeks to come, 3 days late is not bad, but it's just when you're watching the track and it's a bit annoying. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. It does exactly what I want in the system, but again, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. So I've got to sort the cabling for my sub so that it gets both sides of the image, so it can make a mono sub, and so the stereo image doesn't collapse to one side. And then yeah, go from there. I've had to obviously rewire everything to make it work the way I want, but that's obvious. And it's quite nice. It all works out. So yeah, if you've got any questions, throw some questions at me. If you've got suggestions, that'd be even better. I'm going to go with recommended tubes and capacitors, but if you have any suggestions, that'd be amazing. And also anything to kind of think about, play around with, add or take away would be really good. But yeah, I've got to a point where I'm actually really happy. I've just done a video on what I did with my room, and the combination of reducing the amount of curtains in the room and also introducing the preamp has really, really changed how my system sounds. Loads more air, loads more detail, but also sounds a lot more natural, which is really exciting. Okay, right, see you later.